I work with Vets Employment Service in Minnesota, and I get a lot of calls from businesses that are looking to recruit veterans. And so I'm wondering, first of all, Julie, could you talk just a little bit about what we're doing in Minnesota about veteran-friendly employers? And then my second question is there a way to do that on NLX? Is there a way to identify, or could there be a way to identify veteran-friendly employers, employers that are anxious to be recruiting veterans?
Sure, I'd be happy to explain that. Jim actually approached the business and technical teams of MinnesotaWorks.net because we were having a large number of our National Guard members return to Minnesota. I think there were about 1,400 in May of this year, coming back to Minnesota, many of them without jobs. And he was working with a Yellow Ribbon program and also talking to veteran-friendly employers and getting many requests from employers, how can I hire a veteran? And they wanted some mechanism within the MinnesotaWorks.net labor exchange system to identify who is a veteran, and they wanted to identify themselves as being military friendly. So we worked together with the business technical people, and we gave the employers an option to, when they post a job on Minnesota Works, to select a box saying military friendly. And that job posting is identified with a waving American flag. We do the same thing with the veterans' resumes. If they're a veteran, they can indicate so on their resume. And when an employer pulls up their resume or does a search and finds their resume, there's a separate column that shows this waving American flag in it. So the job seekers can search for military-friendly jobs, and the employer can search for veterans only, along with other search criteria that they indicate. And it makes very nice matches. It pleases the employers, and of course the job seekers are thrilled. I think we did a count. Do you remember how many jobs we came up with? Was that were military-friendly just recently? It was over 1,000 jobs.
Just short of 900 jobs.
Right. And when we launched this capability, it was in February of this year, in anticipation of all these National Guard members returning. We went live with it, and we thought about all of the job seekers that were already registered as veterans. We thought, how are we going to reach them? Well, the next time they logged into the job bank, they received a pop-up explaining that they could now identify themselves and be viewable as a veteran if they so chose. They could update their status, and so we included all of them as well.
Any capacity for that to go, for NLX to do that, or that to transfer over? When NLX picks up any sort of job, does that veteran-friendly status for a particular employer's job go and show up on NLX?
What we have is, Jim, the Vet Central website. And on that site, all the companies who are federal contractors have the flag, because federal contractors generally are military friendly. They're required by law, of course, to comply with 4212. But when we receive the upload from Minnesota, right now we aren't capturing that data. There's not a separate field. Not every state has that consistent data field, but that's something I think we should explore and talk about. I imagine more states are probably going to follow suit.
And this is the one great thing about this being a partnership. When there's issues like that are raised, we could get changes and we could get things done. So,
good idea.
Okay, Rhonda, going back to direct traffic. Jolene mentioned direct traffic, and I know you've had experience in using your direct traffic reports in seeing utilization from the state job banks in your area. Could you just talk about that?
Sure. When we first started using the direct traffic reports, our main focus initially was really on understanding what were the keywords that were allowing people to find their way to our website, because we wanted to ensure that we had those keywords embedded in our jobs and on our main careers page. But as the numbers started growing, we noticed some trends as the states started to come online and take the uploads and the downloads for our jobs, and found that many of our traffic sources, our largest traffic sources, were from the state job banks. We saw a quadruple in our volume, both in California, Washington, and Portland almost immediately. And then the other states, we still have one state we're working on. I won't mention that one out loud, but the other states followed with some additional time. So the original intent that we planned to use it for was really something other than what we ultimately got as a benefit, which is understanding what kind of referrals we were getting from the state, which allowed us to work more closely with them in our partnership on things like career fairs, and to help them understand the benefit that we were getting from it, so that as we entered audits, they were partners with us in that journey as well.
Any questions from the group? Okay, I'm going to address this one to Annette. How does the relationship, this relationship, benefit Direct Employers Association members?
Well, I did say I've been in recruiting for about 20 years, so I do remember how things used to be in the very slow world and AJB. And but with the automation of posting the jobs, knowing that they're posted and the confirmation from the reports is really gives recruiters a life back. That's just one level. But then you have the syndicated partnerships, and these are not just any sites, any partnerships. These are really, I've looked into them. I've done my own little, looking them through and making sure that these are places that KPMG would want to be on, and they are. And so that's a little level 2. But then we've taken it to another level in that a number of those partnerships I've reached out to individually, and we're working with them on a couple of other levels. So it's not just the automation, it's not just the syndicated partnerships, but it's also opening up additional one-to-one partnerships with these organizations that I probably would not have worked with in the past. So on many levels, and we're not stopping and we're not slowing down with it. So I think that there's even more benefits for our members with it.
All right, any questions? All right, seeing and hearing none. Scott, you're next. Rhonda touched on supply, and that's one thing that she has learned by serving on the NLX Operations Committee, that states do in fact have a supply of job seekers. Now, the misconception out there is that the states are unemployment agencies or they only have entry-level job seekers. Can you put that misnomer to rest?
Absolutely, we don't.
So yesterday, I heard your boss mention your supply of veterans in Texas. Maybe you could go down that route.
Yeah, we've done a lot. He mentioned that this all kind of ties in, right? That one of the benefits of this is getting to sit down with employers and really figure out what you guys need, and then better understanding how we can help with that. Larry mentioned yesterday about the whole don't go try and sell a shoe size that you don't have. We've done a lot to try and understand our supply and what that is. There's a misconception that we're the unemployment agency and we get everybody bad, but you think about everybody who files for unemployment is required to register for work with us, and so Houston's a great example. NASA, the space shuttle program, shut down, and that's the Johnson Space Center in Houston had tons of those folks. I mean, these are nuclear engineers. I mean, these are really, really highly technical, specialized, educated, skilled folks. We got those. They're registered with us. They all filed for unemployment. And, lose their job through no fault of their own. We have tons of those types of people, and so it is very much a misconception that what we provide is low skill, low wage, low expectation job seekers, and that's not the case at all. We have some of those. Everybody does, and we're not trying to say that we don't. We're not trying we don't want to bill ourselves as something we're not, but we have the whole spectrum. I'll give you an example, this Eagle Ford Shale that we mentioned. We were in a conference in March of this year, had an employer come up to us and say that he was trying to hire a geohydraulic, water guy, and he had contracted with a search firm for a year, and they hadn't been able to provide him one candidate. We had 7 in our database, and we hooked him up with a local area, and he hired somebody. I mean, and so there are a lot of stories like that kind of supplement the fact that it's not all low skill, low wage, low expectation. Veterans is another great example that those folks coming out, I mean, you guys know, right? This is something you live every day. You know what they bring to the table. But the vast majority of those, when they're getting out, they go through their ACAP centers. Those ACAP centers get those folks to register with the state workforce system so that they're in our system because we have staff that are dedicated to providing employment services to them. So those folks are all on our database. And those are not, again, those are not low skill, low wage, low expectation folks. These are skilled individuals. They got a lot to offer and they want to offer that. That's all on our database. And so, again, not to you guys, because I think you probably already know that, but to anybody that, you've got circles that you run in, professional circles, that's something else that we as states, I think, would implore you. Don't write it off just because it has the perception of being the unemployment office. It's not anymore. Pam mentioned that in her remarks on Wednesday, that it's very much, the focus is reemployment now. It's not unemployment. But that's a huge thing that we continue to fight. We spend a lot of time and effort trying to educate people that that's not the case.
Can I add just a bit? We've experienced the same thing in Minnesota Works, and part of our strategy in trying to sell our service to employers, we develop an annual marketing brochure every year, and we just call it our annual report. And I brought extras with me today. If you're interested in some of the data on it, I'd be happy to share it with you. But it measures the demographics of our job seekers, including their educational level. And what we found is that the people in the job bank with our resumes in our job bank are actually have a higher educational status than the general population. And just to relay a personal experience, our LMI director, who is a PhD, and sometimes plays the devil's advocate in our organization when it comes to our job bank, and because he has extremely high standards, I value his opinion. He just related to my boss, our workforce development director, within the last couple of weeks, that he advised his son, who graduated with a mechanical engineering degree, to give Minnesota Works a try. So his son did. And his son found a fabulous job and was hired as a mechanical engineer by one of the employers who advertised the position in Minnesota Works.
Can I throw you another bone? Something else to supplement. I mean, we talked a lot about what the benefits of the partnership. One of the other benefits of the partnership is that the jobs that you guys have, you guys by and large have good jobs. These are jobs that we want in our system. These are not fast food. They're not service related in a lot of cases. I mean, some are, but you get the idea, right? The vast majority of what you guys have these are jobs that we want. And so one of the things that's helped, I think I speak for all of us, one of the things that's helped the states is this partnership. As we start getting these jobs and we have that job content and these good jobs, these quality jobs, we tend to get better quality job seekers, right? People that have more skills, that have more education, more things that you guys are looking for that you want. And so it's reciprocal. It kind of builds on itself. But that's something else. I mean, I hadn't mentioned that, but that's something else that's come out of this partnership, is that better quality leads to better quality, leads to better results for everybody.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank the panel for all the good information. And if you have any questions later, you can contact Charlie Terrell or Christy Merriman, and our information is in the agenda that you have. And thanks for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you.